Okay, so good day class. Once again, sorry for the late upload for our topic since all of my recordings was corrupted. So we are now on the second topic of our Earth and Land Science. We are now on solar systems. So before solar system was thought to be constituted by 6 planets and the Earth's moon, in 1609 Galileo discovered the telescope, and using this he discovered 4 moons revolving Jupiter. Since then, improvements of the telescope have brought about discoveries of more members of our solar system. So first, before we discuss the solar system, we will discuss the theories in which regards the formation of our solar system. With the origin of our solar system has been puzzles to scientists. The organization of our solar system is convincing evidence that it was not formed haphazardly. First theory that we will discuss is the nobular theory. Okay, it was made by Marquis Laplace. According to Laplace, the members of the solar system was formed part of an enormous slowly rotating clouds of incandescent gases. These clouds gradually cooled and shrunk and became more and more spherical shapes. As it rotates, it with increasing rapidity, it develops a bulge around the equator. Finally, a ring matter was flung off to this area. This ring cooled and contracted and became our planets. Another ring and still another one were thrown off from the central mass, and each evolved into planets. Eventually, all planets were formed. The central masses became our sun. The planets themselves threw off rings into the space, and these rings develops into moons or our satellites. So let's just discuss, summarize lang or kung ano lang importante. Since we are running short of time, okay, so dire-diretso na. Next is the this theory. Okay, it was discovered by Carl van Weizsäcker. Okay, that developed the rotating mass is more thorough understood today than it was in Laplace's time. Internal friction tends to produce whirlpools or rapidly spinning fluid masses. On this basis, Weizsäcker assumed that part of the dust clouds from which the sun was formed remained around a new star as gray. Slowly rotating this in time, huge whirlpools developed within the disk, causing formation of smaller globes of gases. Each globe of material cooled into planets with gas shell never of the nearer planets driven off by the sun's heat. So only the solid cores remain. The farther the planets retain their thick gaseous shells, since they were less affected by the sun's energy. So for a virtual demonstration in regards sa aming theories, okay. So, ang ilang actually would be like this. So, durihan ko na. Okay. So, ang sa aton nga sa aton nga solar system. Okay. So, for example, this is a fluid of gas. So, gas swirl siya pa sulod. Okay. As ang swirl nga na, okay, may nabilin-bilin na sa kilid, okay, okay, mas ga-shrink na nga ga-shrink, then eventually nag-form siya into sun. Okay. So, yellow mo ni mga sun. Okay. As ang center ya, mas ka-solidify kag mas ka-cool down, okay, that forms our sun. Okay. Then, ang mga gabilin-bilin sa kilid, okay, since mas na-form na ang sun, okay, so gaamat-amat ang mga lawit yan eh. Okay. Okay. So, may distance siya gawa sa sun, okay? Ang spheres nga naga-form diri, mga dira, okay, that forms into globes, okay? Or ano mga ginatawag ta na nga planet. So, as the center ng aton nga sun, okay, may mga ga-form man nga spherical planets revolving it. Okay, as nag-solidify na katama ang sun, therefore, ang mga closest nga mga spherical objects, mas nag-solidify man. Okay, so makita mo, like sa planets which is mga farther away pa sa sun, okay, their shell is still quite liquefied pa or in gaseous state. Okay, unlike sa pinaka-closest ka planet which is your Mars, okay, so it is very solid na. Okay, compared mo siya sa other nga planets. Okay, so that is the Nobular theory and also ang gin-prove na nga eddy theory. Okay, next is the dust cloud theory. Next is dust cloud theory by Fred Whipple. Okay, according to Whipple, the solar system to be was first a vast clouds of cosmic dust and gases. Okay? We assume disk-like shaped irregularities within the clouds brought about rotation. The rotating dust and gases became concentrated and the clouds collapsed. The solid particles within the collided shrunken together and became our planets. The gases at the center of the former clouds developed into our sun. Okay, so ang illustration niya, pasensya lang ako mga drawings ha. Okay, so for example, you have a dust cloud. Okay, dust cloud. Okay. So if there is a dust cloud, okay, may nag-rotate. Okay, nag-umpisa ang yung rotation. Okay. As the rotation, mas galawig, mas gadasig, okay, mas naging concentrated ang mga solid particles ng arada. Okay, ang mga solid particles nagkadto sa center, okay, forming our sun. Okay. Then, ang mga gases, the gases of the center forms the clouds develop into our sun. Okay, ang solid parts man araw na lang. Okay, so that is ang iyang theory for the formation of our solar system or ang center sa atong solar system which is our sun. Okay? Encounterment hypothesis. Okay, ang encounterment hypothesis is divided into two, your planetesimal hypothesis and tidal hypothesis. So what is planetesimal hypothesis? Okay, it was made or it was uh, um, made, okay, it was authored by James Jean and Harold Jeffrey. So according to them, okay, a fast-moving star passed very close to the sun but did not collide with it. Okay, the gravity of the passing star pulled some arms of the hot gases in the sun. These hot gases turned into solid particles, which is called your planetesimal, which eventually developed into our planets. Okay, so sa imong encounter ni, okay, ang iyang theory is may sana nga daan. Okay? May sana. Okay, di ba ang sun we have your sun rays. Okay, mga sun rays na. Okay. The iyang theory is there is another sun where it is quite bigger. Kag if may direction na sa, okay, hindi mo na siya ma-stop pa. Okay, since ang direction yung paadto dito that way. Okay? Since nagkatuda ang sun pamot dito nga direction, okay, ang arm sa ato ni nga sun, okay, na butong niya pa adto man to. Okay? Therefore, nagsipak siya sa sun mismo. Ang mga sun rays nga na, okay, ang iyang energy or ang iyang composition, nag-separate na sa original nga body, which turns into new planets. Okay? Okay, kaya ang iyang hot gases class nag-turn into solid particles. Okay, so amo nang iyang theory with regard sa planetesimal. Okay. Next is ang tidal. Okay, anong difference sa tidal at planetesimal? Okay, the tidal is quite similar sa planetesimal. However, the gravity of the passing sun pulled some arms of the hot gases. Okay, then the arms of that hot gases turns into liquid balls the night. Then the liquid balls turns eventually to solid particles. Okay, ang difference between sa planetesimal is ang hot gases nag-directly turn into planets. Okay, nag-constrict sila or after nilang cool down, nag-diretso sila into solid particles. However, there is a tidal, okay, tidal means body of water, okay, naging liquid pa siya anay. Then, eventually, that liquid ball turns into solid particles that became our planets. Okay, the argument against this theory that is not material from the sun pool by passing do not condense to form planets but due to immense heat, the gas should have been further dispersed. Okay, so daw ginapa, walaan ang amo nga theory kay lapit man gyapon sila sa sun. Therefore, if may aragid man na pull off nga mga hot gaseous state gasolin sa sun, okay, ma-disperse din magimdulaan siya sa galaxy. Next is double star theory, okay, by R.A. Littleton. Okay, Lit, Lit, Littleton, Littleton believed that in the beginning there was a sun and beside it there was a companion star. Okay, the companion star exploded into clouds of gas were captured by the sun's gravity. These clouds later turned into solid particles and eventually formed into our planets. Ibig sabihin, ang sun na nakita ta subong is ang bigger na sun. Then, ang iya companion lang is ang nag-erupt or nag-burst. Okay, so ang iya components ng companion nga star, ang components ng companion nga stars, okay, nag-spread out sa aton nga solar system. But since may gravitational pull ang aton nga sun, okay, nag-stay sila sa orbit. Okay, so gaspin sila sa orbit to keep their distance kung sa diin man sila ang ilang distansya sa aton nga sun. Kaya nga man ang sun mismo, okay, as the center of the gravity nga dako, kaya ang iyang companion nga star ga rotate man ga orbit man lang na siya sa original or sa bigger nga sun. Next, the condensation theory, okay, supported by many astronomers. Okay, so mo best theory nga ginapatihan. Okay, similar to the idea of Newton, okay, in the beginning of the companion star exploded into clouds of gases which were captured by the sun's gravity. These clouds turns into condensed liquid balls. Kaya diba, ang balta, if yours ang mga sun is composed of hot gases, okay, so do may ano siya sa similar mo siya sa tidal na hypothesis nga nag-agi anay into liquid state before turning into solid state. So that is the only summary para sa ating condensation theory. Next, sa ating solar system, pinaka-importante sa ating solar system which is our sun. Okay, yung mga sun is considered as stars. The center of our solar system, the sun which is the largest and the most important member. The sun is the nearest star to the earth. Okay, the next nearest star is Alpha Centauri, which is more than 40 trillion kilometers away. The average distance of the Earth from the Sun is about 100, 149, 600,000 kilometers. Because of the elliptical shape of the Earth's orbit, it is nearest ang aton nga planets sa Sun during January kag farthest during the month of July. Okay, the Sun is a huge ball of gases, about 1,400,000 kilometers in diameter, which is more than 100 times the diameter of Earth, and the Sun's mass is 333,420 times of the Earth's mass. But the volume of the Sun is 1,300 times of the Earth, and its density is 1.49 times of the water, in less than the Earth's density. This surface gravity, ang iyang gravity sa Sun is 28 times the gravity of the Earth. Kaya ano yung gravity ta sa Earth? The normal gravity sa Earth is 9.8 meters per second.
And pilot's access.
Okay, so ang components at ng Sun is uh, containing 99.89% material of the solar system. Ang hydrogen is the most abundant element and 80% of the Sun's mass, followed by helium which is consists of 19% and the remaining 1% of the solar mass is element descending in order, which is your oxygen, magnesium, nitrogen, silicon, carbon, sulfur, iron, sodium, calcium, and nickel, and other few traces of elements. You have layers of your sun. Okay, first, sa layers of the sun, you have your interior, which or ang iyang ginatawag ka nga core. Okay, the temperature of the sun's core is about 15 times 10 raised to 6 degree Celsius. Okay, thermonuclear reactions taking place in the core is responsible for releasing of your energy, which reaches the Earth as light and heat. The visible surface of the sun is what you call your photosphere. Okay, this layer is also called your solar disk. Okay, the deepest layer of the sun, it has the temperature of around 5,700 degree Celsius. So compared mo siya sa heat mismo sa iyong core, okay, it is very cooler. Okay? Above the photosphere of the sun lies your sun's atmosphere. Okay? The lower part of the atmosphere and above the photosphere is called your reversing layer or the transparent layer, which is several hundred kilometers. Just above the reversing layer and merging into it, it is your chromosphere. It's also called the color sphere because it has a pinkish tinge or scarlet color due to the abundance of your hydrogen, and this layer contains. The outermost envelope of the sun is what you call your corona or mga sun rays mo. So you have your important parts of the sun, your corona, okay? The reversing sphere, the chromosphere anay that gives the color. The reversing sphere ang sa matunghan sang imo nga atmosphere kag sa imo nga photosphere. Next is ang solar activities. Okay, ano mga solar activities? Okay, these are the events or phenomena nga kalatabo sa aton nga sun. You have your sunspots, kaya mo na mga dark area sa aton nga sun. They are gigantic areas in the solar surface which is 800 to 80,000 kilometers across. And less brilliant than the surrounding region, the spot is darker when compared to the photosphere, which indicates a lower temperature around 4,000 degree Celsius. Kaya ba ang atong temperature sa surface ng mga sun is usually 5,700 degrees Celsius. So that is your photosphere. So kung normally ang temperature, so, hindi siya mag-form into sunspots or dark spots sa imong mga sun. So, if temperature yung magnubo lang around 4,000, lower than 4,000 degrees Celsius, it will form into sunspots. Okay, so mga importante. Next is your solar flares. Okay, what is solar flares? Okay, it's a sudden eruption which sprays fountains of very hot gases into space. One of the signs of the solar flare is an increased brightness from the emission on a short burst of your radio energy. After 15 to 30 minutes, the explosive phase begins, and for 15 minutes or more, the flare gives off your X-ray, ultraviolet rays, visible light, and radio waves. So, ang importante din sa ating solar flares, okay? So, if I remember correctly, there was a news regarding sa sudden eruption sa sun, which nga nag-ara dito sa news. So, if there is a warning with regards sa ating solar flares, isabihin na you must stay indoors, hindi ka gid pwede kagwa. Okay, you will be exposed to too much X-ray, ultraviolet rays, and visible light, and also radio waves. So, ang maka-damage din sa atin usually sa solar flares is your radio waves. So, medyo gahig na that signal by that time kung makalabot na ang radio waves from the sun to the earth. So, hindi makamukis ang mag-worry since di ba ga-orbit man ang earth sa sun. So, may possibility nga ang solar flares natabo sa opposite side sa sun. Okay, wala naka-direct sa aton. Next is ang solar radiations. Okay, so cosmic rays are highly energetic nuclei of atom traveling at high speed. About 90% of the cosmic ray particles and nuclei of hydrogen atoms, helium, nuclei make about 9%, and the rest of the elements such as your carbon, nitrogen, neon, and
Sabi pa,
iron.
seryoso.
A thin rain of this particle constantly strikes the upper atmosphere of our Earth. As they enter the upper part of the atmosphere, they collide with the atoms of the air. The fragments known as secondary cosmic ray results from this collision. About 1% of the secondary rays penetrates and the remaining atmosphere and reach the sea level. Next activity would be your solar winds. are low energy protons and electrons which were sent out by the sun. Some of the charged particles ejected travel as individual particles. The electrons in the solar winds generally travel faster than the protons. The sun's upper atmosphere seems to be the origin of the solar winds. A main source of information about the sun is either the cosmic rays nor the solar winds, but its streams of its electromagnetic radiation or radiant energy. Okay, so ang sun taga-release ng gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet light, infrared light, microwave, and radio wave. We see only light waves. The infrared light we sense as heat. And the other forms of radiation can be extended by the means of special instruments and films. Next is the motion of our planets or ang pag-orbit sa planets around the sun. Okay, the true motion of the planets were first described by Johannes Kepler. He stated that the orbits of the planets around the sun are not exactly circle but ellipse. Okay, that the velocity of the planets in their own orbits are such that an imaginary line drawn from the planets to the sun, sweeping across equal areas in equal periods of time, and that the square of the planet period of your revolution around the sun measures in your years period are proportional to the cube of the planet's average distance from the measured in astronomical units. So, hindi ito na pagbasa ulit since this is only theoretical lang. The motion of the planets were observed from the Earth are complicated because of the Earth's own rotation and revolution. The Earth rotates from east to west so that the planets appear to rise in the east and sets in the west. As to the stars, however, the superior planets periodically appear to move westwards or clockwise motion with respect to the star. So Newton's law of gravitation. Okay, Isaac Newton proved that the planetary motion was the result of a single law of motion or law of your gravity. This law was discussed sa chapter 12 pa. The law implies that matter is somehow capable of producing a force that can cut across millions of kilometers in seemingly empty space to some other matter. The law of gravitation explains the fundamental reason why the planets revolve around the sun, since the mass of the sun is greater than the combined masses of all the planets. The sun attracts them continuously. So, ang ginoobra planeta is to orbit. Ibig sabihin, malibot siya sa sun to counter or para mabalance ang inertia in motion to fly in a straight line across the space and the gravitational pull of the sun. Next is the 8 planets of our solar system. So, sigon ta lang nga, pawon ta lang. First planet or ang pinakamalapit na planet nga makita mo sa atong solar system nga very close sa sun is your Mercury. Okay, so nearest planet, average distance from the sun is about 58 million kilometers. And average interval, it is one of the brightest since siyang pinakalapit, siyang mas ga-absorb sang light kag ga-reflect, so mas makita ta siya. Okay, and it is the second smallest planet because Mercury's surface reflects light in a very same manner as the Earth's moon. And two celestial bodies have the similar topographic features. The telescope reveals that the disk of your Mercury has faces like those of our moon. May ano siya, may full moon, fourth quarter. Ano. Next is Mercury is the shortest period of revolution of our planet. Ang ginatawag tas natin revolution, okay? It completes its orbit once every 88 days. So, under 88 days, makalibot na siya sa sun. Okay, radar measures have determined Mercury's period of rotation to be around 58 days, 48 hours, and 20 minutes. Ibig sabihin, maka-rotate siya sa sun mismo. Maka-orbit na siya sa sun. So na next is ang Venus. Okay, Venus, beautiful white planet which is called Venus after the Roman goddess of beauty. Like Mercury, Venus is at times an eyeing star and at the times of a morning star. The planet may rise as much as 4 hours before the sun and sets as much as 4 hours after it. Okay, Venus reflects about 76% of the light because it receives from the sun. Kaya lapit man siya. The moon reflects about only 7% of the light it receives. Because of this, Venus is the third brightest object in the sky. Okay, the sun being the brightest and the moon nga second, so third ang imo Venus. Venus is the second planet in order of the sun and it is comes closer to the earth about 41 million kilometers. Thus that and thus any other planet. It travels around the orbit path about 22 miles per second. It comes within 26 million miles of the Earth from the standpoint in diameter, mass, density, and light of years. Venus resembles Earth that any other planet. So, ang pinakahawig or pinakalapit nga lookalike Saturn Earth would be Venus. Okay, so guys, explored 16 aircrafts in orbit. Okay, so question na. Next is Mars. Mercury ang una, you have Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Mars is the small reddish planet with a rotation period and the axial tilt similar to Earth but with longer seasons because its period of revolution that is nearly 2 Earth years. Okay, Mars is closest to the Earth when it is at position eh, at opposition and opposition of course every 780 days. At such time, Mars distance to the Earth range from 56 to 98 million kilometers. Carbon dioxide appeared to be the principal gas in the atmosphere of your Mars, and only few traces of oxygen, nitrogen, and water vapors in the atmosphere. A great mass of your hydrogen also surrounds this planet. Mars has white polar caps. These polar caps known to be composed of your frozen water, not carbon dioxide as we previously believed in. Some scientists believe that the center of this planet may have a layer of permafrost, a thin layer of frozen water under the surface of dust and rest. So, may possibilities nga makasupport sang life ang Mars since it has may water man siya. Okay? Although, ang iyang ang main sa iyang oxygen composition sa oxygen is carbon dioxide which is very toxic sa human. So, skip tayo na. You have your two moons of your Mars, your Phobos and your Deimos. Okay, so ang Phobos the larger and the innermost moon. Ang Deimos is the smaller and the outermost. So, matandaan nyo para ma-differentiate nyo ang dua. Yan na napapadala. Next is your Jupiter. Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system. Its volume is around 1,300 times of the Earth and the Earth's diameter is scarcely 1/11 of your Jupiter. The mass of Jupiter is around 2 and 2.5 times the combined masses of all planets and 318 times great as the mass of the Earth alone. Its density is around 1.33 times of your water. Jupiter rotates on its axis in a shorter period than any other planet. As a result, it is flattened at the poles and bulged in the equator. It has dark and light bands extending across the surface, surely parallel of the Earth's planet's equator. They believe to be the gases coming from the interior. These then form your dark bands as they shrink back into deeper parts of the atmosphere. A distinct feature of your Jupiter is a great red spot. Okay, so if you're talking about great red spot, so Jupiter lang yun siya. Okay, it has an oval shape and its size varies. This red spot has a speed of rotation around the Jupiter's axis, averaging a few kilometers per hour, slower than those of the areas close to the spot. The general opinion of these space scientists is that the Great Red Spot is a violent storm raging in the atmosphere of your Jupiter. It is similar to hurricane-type event in Saturn na Earth, and it would swallow up the entire Earth kung ang red spot is ma-appear diri sa aton nga planet. Okay, ang Jupiter, tinamang their class, it has 39 satellites. Ang meaning ng satellite na is referred to your moons or mga uh, uh, ano yun, astronomical bodies nga ga-orbit sa iya. Kaya series of thin rings is similar to miniature solar system. For this reason, Jupiter is of weight. Next is your Saturn. Saturn is well known through its ring, which is seen as constituent bands as light and dark colors. The rings consistently large of your individual solid fragments, each revolving around the planet in orbit, and they would be independent satellites of the planet. The particles of ice, frost-covered fragments of rock, metal, in simply orbits of ice. So, ang mga ring system, you have your Saturn's ring, which is extremely wide but very flat. Bands created by orbiting fragments of your rocks, gas, and also ice. Although there are more 100,000 separate ringlets, they are generally referred as part of the broad A, B, and C nga ring. So, ginsipak na lang into three groups. Starting from the outside, you have your Cassini division. The distinct gap between your A and B rings is around 4,800 kilometers wide. The visibility of the visible rings stretch out the distance around 136,200 kilometers or ang iyang miles na conversion from the Saturn center, but in many regions they may be only 5 kilometers thick. Okay, so kita na. Importante, if you're talking about ring system, okay, ara na sa Saturn. Sa Jupiter naman yung class is your great red spot. Okay? You have your moons of your Saturn. So you have, sa Saturn naman yung class, you have 61 moons. Okay, ang 52 pa lang niya ang giname and most are quite small. These are hundreds of moonlets embedded within the Saturn's rings. 7 moons are larger enough to be rounded into shape, which would be considered a dwarf planet if they were in direct orbit above the Sun. Okay, so sa atong nga Jupiter, it has 39. Sa Saturn, you have 61 satellites. So, mga names sa mga common, you have your Titan, which is the largest moon of your Saturn, second largest moon in your solar system, with an Earth-like atmosphere and a landscape including hydrocarbon lakes and river networks. Okay, hindi na lang pag gano'n, ba nga names. Okay, so, importante na lang is your Titan nga moon. Next is the remaining satellites. Dito na lang na pag-iano. Pamaslas inyo mga tulunan. Next nga planet is Uranus. Uranus resembles your Jupiter and Saturn in most respect. Though it's smaller in size, Uranus differs from all of the planets in its axis of rotation, lies nearly in the plane of its orbit because of its tilted nga axis. Uranus equator is inclined into 98 degree to its orbit's plane, so that the point of the surface that would be in the North Pole actually lies in your south of its orbital plane. Uranus therefore has no season, which resembles those of the Earth's. Instead, Uranus alternately points its pole and its equator toward the Sun, so that each pole has an effect of 42 years long summer followed for 42 years long winter. So Uranus is surrounded by your thick atmosphere composed mainly of your hydrogen and your helium. The atmosphere also contains your methane, which gives the planet greenish appearance. Ay, pido ako na ano, ang Uranus. Okay, for your Uranus class, Uranus has 13 distinct rings and 27 confirmed moons. The mass of Uranus is around 14.5 times greater than the mass of your Earth, and the volume is 67 times greater. The force of gravity of the surface of Uranus is 1.17 times sa gravitational force sa aton nga Earth. Then when it comes sa iyang satellites or sa moon, your Uranus has 27 moons. You have your five majors na lang. Horizontal na, you have your Miranda. Okay, innermost and the smallest major moons. You have your Titania, largest of the five and the eighth largest moon in the solar system. Ariel, fourth largest. Umbriel, which is your third largest, and Oberon, which is the second largest, and together with your Titania were the first moon discovered in your Uranus. Okay, so there's one na. Next, Neptune. Okay, Neptune is one of the giant planets by the telescope. It appears as a small greenish disk, but it is not visible with our unaided eye. Uranus and your Neptune are similar in size and telescopic appearance and are often referred as twin planets. However, Neptune mass is usually about 17 times of the Earth, and the average density is around 2.3 times the density of water indicates in the core composed of rock metal covered in ice. Neptune is surrounded by a thick atmosphere containing large amount of pure methane. No markings are visible in the Earth's surface. Neptune revolves outside the orbit of your Uranus and for most of its orbit moves inside in elliptical path of your Pluto. Every 248 years, Pluto's orbit brings the planet inside Neptune nearly circular orbit for about 20 years. The last time Pluto orbited through inside of Neptune's orbit was in 1979, and in 1999, Pluto's orbit carried back it outside sa Neptune's orbit. Among gina-debate if ang Pluto is still a planet nga ma-considered mo siya sa solar system or as a satellite na for Neptune nga orbit. Okay? Astronomers believe that Neptune has an interior core that is surrounded by a vast ocean of mixed water and rocky materials. From the inner core, this ocean extends upward until it meets gaseous atmosphere of your hydrogen, helium phases of your methanes, and Neptune is known as five nodes. Okay, so that ends aton nga solar system. So that would be also at least wait for sa aton nga quiz which regards sa aton nga introduction sa aton geology and also sa aton nga solar system. So combine ko na so that would be around 10 to 15 to 20 questions. So that will be all. Thank you and stay safe always.